Slides.
Hello, everyone on Facebook.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Good morning. Good morning. Everyone on YouTube. Everyone joining the meeting with us in Zoom. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Good to see you, Alita, Arlene, Kathy, Cynthia, Joanne, Kim, good to see you back. Melissa, Vishwas, Stacy, Ron. Good morning. Go ahead and grab your coffee. And if you can, let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from this morning. It's always so much fun for us to see where everybody's joining from. Awesome. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone just to keep our sound quality good.
It's Friday. I'm so excited. Maybe it's payday, maybe it's not, but we're all here and we're about to learn some fun stuff. So Florida, awesome. Chicago. Sophia from Chicago. How you doing, Sophia? It's nice to see you again. Toronto.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. It is 8:30 or 8:31 now. Joe, should we get this thing started?
Let's do it. I'm excited. Let's have some fun. Let's learn.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. My name is Carly. I am our Director of Community here at Learnit, and with me leading our session on data-driven leadership, we have the wonderful Joseph Patty. So if you've been following along with us week over week, or you're a Learnit client, you've probably seen Joe in the classroom or at our community events. So we're thrilled to have you. If you are new to Learnit, thank you, and thank you for finding us and being here. We are a learning and development organization based out of San Francisco, California, but we have a dispersed team. I'm here in San Diego, and Joe's over in Alameda. But really our goal with these sessions is one, to make learning and professional development more accessible to everybody. And also our goal as an organization is to help us all upskill and learn the skills needed to thrive professionally and personally, just in this hybrid work environment and remote work environment that we're all living in. And so with that, I'll go share a little bit more about just kind of how these community sessions work. We host and run these community sessions every Friday morning, and they're hosted around a monthly theme. So this month is becoming an Excel power user. If you attend all 4 Friday events in a month, you actually get a certification in Excel from Learnit as well. And these sessions are led by subject matter experts, our internal team, people like Joe, as well as guest speakers and thought leaders. We have a lot lined up for you next month as well, so stay tuned for that. A couple of housekeeping items just in regards to this session. It will be recorded and it will be available in our online community called Offsite, which will share a little bit more about after the session as well. And we will have time for questions as well. So please do put them in the chat. I will be capturing them throughout the session. Joe will try to address them throughout the session, and we'll also have time at the end, as well as in the community and offsite as well, to address those afterwards. So don't be shy. Please send me a message in the chat. Happy to capture those questions. And with that, I really want to introduce all of you to Joe Patty. Joe is an expert in business applications and in data analysis. He's an educator and an instructional program designer for us here at Learnit. So he designs all of our programming really around business applications, Excel, data analysis for our largest clients. And Joe, just also I want to say on the people side, being that this is around data-driven leadership, is a huge leader for our team internally. He'll help put together amazing dashboards and aggregate data for us and make recommendations, collaborate with our CEO to help us make better decisions. So we're in really good hands with Joe today when it comes to talking about data and how we can all apply data analysis to be better leaders and make decisions. So thank you so much, Joe. Thanks for being here. I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Carly. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. Stoked. It's Friday. We're about to learn some fun stuff. So really, data analysis is important for anything, right? I mean, think about every company going forward from probably the 90s to now. We started to look at data sets and put our data into workbooks, right? And now companies utilize this data to continue to grow and upskill their businesses. So data is a huge part of our world, and I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. So people use data in Google, they use data in Smartsheets, they use data in Excel, they use data all over the place. And what I want to teach you today is how we can now take a look at that data, right, and analyze it in a way that will help us make tough decisions, because that's what it's all about, right? If, for instance, if we have a company that maybe sales are down, well, let's take a look at the data. What changed from the time we were, in the top margin of our sales to now a little bit below that margin of sales? We can look at the data, utilize that, and then answer that big question to find a solution. So that's what it's all about. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to run through some fun Excel examples. I do have here an example file for you. I think it's important that you have a way to follow along, because when you do it in real time, I think it's fun. So I'm going to put that into the chat right now, and you can click on that link and then download the file. All right. And while you're doing that, I'm going to open up my screen here, and I'm going to open up my file. So while you're all downloading those files, it might take a second. And by the way, for my YouTube people, what we'll do is I will put the link in the description. So if later on you want to replay the recording there, you're more than welcome to follow along there. But let's talk about this data real quick. I'm on the sorting worksheet, and we're going to be talking about pair company employee master list. Now here we have some data, right? And the data is pretty simplistic, nothing too crazy here. We have employee IDs, we have the last name of the person, the first name, what zone they're in, the email, right? All that information. So really, really important to be able to do that. Be able to take a look at that data, know what the data is, and then be able to answer those questions. So right now I'm looking at this data, nothing too crazy in here. But the problem is data doesn't come to us perfectly. It never does. I mean, I've grabbed data from SQL databases. I've grabbed data from Access databases. I've grabbed data from different applications that you may never have heard of. And I pulled it into Excel, and it was just a mess. So the first thing we have to learn about when we're talking about data is how do we actually get it prepped and ready for when we want to analyze the data. So we're going to go over some nice techniques here. First off, we're going to start off with sorting. And I know you're probably saying, Joe, I know how to sort. Well, yeah, sorting is great. It puts the data in an order that we need it to be in. For instance, maybe I'm pulling a report and I need to see everyone, and I need to see their data from their last name, which is something that happens all the time. My boss will come in and say, Joe, I need you to pull all of our employees, but I need it by last name order. So in ascending order, A to Z by last name. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I could do that. So the first thing I do is I click anywhere into that column. And you'll see here we have this last name column. You don't have to select all of it. A lot of people try to like select everything. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is simply click anywhere in that column there. I'm just clicking anywhere, it doesn't matter where. And once you have that, you then go over to, well, we're talking about data, right? Data driven. So we go to the data tab. And inside of our data tab, you will notice there is what's known as the sort and filter command group. Now here we have a couple of buttons. We have our A to Z, which is just a quick button that allows us to quickly just say, okay, sort this A to Z. We also have our other button, which will tell us, okay, Joe, I need you to sort this Z to A, right? So we have that and we can use those quick buttons. But if we wanted to do multiple levels of sorting, we would just use our standard sort button up here. So we have our two quick buttons for a single level sort, and then our sort button here for a multi-level sort. So if I want to sort this A to Z, I just click anywhere, click A to Z. And look at that, it looks beautiful. It's sorted, all right? So that's great, that's a single level sort. But then they throw something else at me. They're like, well, Joe, you know what would be really nice? If I saw not only by last name, but I also want it sorted by building, by location. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I come over here, I do my A to Z. I come over here, I do my A to Z. Now I know what you're all thinking. This looks sorted. It looks great. I can see here, I see B, C, D. But I had a couple of people with an A last name, so where are they? And really, this isn't being sorted the way I want it to be. It's only being sorted by location. So we need to make sure that if we're doing a multi-level sort, we do not just click last name A to Z, location A to Z. It won't work. It's not giving you the actual order that they're asking you for. Instead, we have to click on the sort button. Now, the way I remember this is simple. I see here that this is just an A to Z by itself, a Z to A by itself. So I'm like, that's a single level sort. But I see both of them in here. So that's what makes me think multi-level sort. And you'll see that I come up with these relations just so that it's easier to remember. So the first thing I'll do is I'll click on the sort button here. And it's going to pop up this dialog box. It's going to say, okay, Joe, right now you're sorting by location. And you're sorting A to Z. I'm like, yeah, that's true. But I didn't want that. I wanted to sort by last name and then by location. So we're going to click on that drop down and select last name. And the order is going to be A to Z. That works perfectly. I'm then going to add another level by clicking add level. And it says sort by last name, then by location. Now, it does matter the order that your boss or your higher up is asking you to do, because if they asked you sort by location first and then by last name, well, that's very different from what we're about to do. So keep that in mind. But now when I click OK, look at that. See, all my A's are here, B, C. So it is sorting by the last name first, and then it's sorting by location. So you will notice, hey, Joe, that doesn't look like it's sorted. It actually is. This is the true result of this sort. Okay. All right, we're going to do another one. We're going to have some more fun with this. Now my boss tells me something crazy. All right. My boss comes in. She says to me, hey, Joe, I want you to sort by day off. I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that. So I come over here. I click anywhere. I do A to Z. There you go. Boss says, nope. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Nope. And I'm like, well, what do you want? How do you want me to sort this? And my boss tells me, well, Joe, I want to be sorted. When do we start the work week? I say, well, we start personally. Our company starts Monday and it goes through Sunday. That's how we usually look at our data, Monday through Sunday. So do it. I'm like, oh, okay. So now I'm thinking, how do I get this exactly customized, sorted Monday all the way through Sunday? Well, it's known as a customized sort. And it's a little different how we do it on a Mac compared to how we do it on a PC. So I'm going to show you PC because that's what I have today. but no worries. If I have my Mac users out there, I will walk you through how to do a customized sort. So just hang tight, my Mac users. So let's say my boss does ask me, hey, Joe, I need you to sort this from Monday through Sunday. I saw that A to Z doesn't work, Z to A doesn't work. So I'm going to click the sort button here. Now, when I do that, I'm going to make sure to choose sort by day off. But this time, we already know that A to Z didn't work and Z to A didn't work. So I have to click on custom list. So I'm going to click custom list. And you'll see they actually have some pre-existing custom lists here. So we have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday through Saturday. We have January, right? We have the abbreviated and non-abbreviated forms. And I'll teach you a little trick in a minute. So ignore this Joe is the best. Well, I'll delete it first, but we'll have some fun with that. But with custom lists, what I can do is I can create now a customized list that says Monday through Sunday. And you have to make sure you match the data. This is important. For instance, I have to use the full name of the week because that's what the data has. If there was abbreviations, then I could use the abbreviations. So I'm just going to go into this list entry and I'm going to type in Monday. Press enter. Okay, press enter to separate list entries. It tells you right there. I'm going to do Tuesday. Press enter. Wednesday. Press enter. Thursday, and so on and so forth. Make sure you spell them right too. I'm a horrible speller. Okay, but I think I did good today. All right. So now that I have these, I can click add. And when I click OK, it will now sort my day off by the actual order that I want, which is known as a custom listed order. When I click OK, how awesome is that? Right? So now I have it exactly the way my boss wanted. And that could be the same thing for location. Maybe my boss wants to see the location, not 123 or 321, but maybe 312. We could use the custom sorting for that. So this is really important in data analysis because when our boss asks us for something, it's typically because they need to see or look at the data a certain way to solve a problem or see if there even is a problem, right? That's the biggest thing. Is there even a problem, right? So the data will allow us to answer those types of questions. And being able to sort, even though it might seem like, sorting simple enough, it's actually a really powerful tool. But I'm going to show you a little trick real quick because I think not a lot of people know this. I think it's fun. And Sophia, awesome. We did not have to be in a table. Yeah, we do not have to turn it into a table. Although we will talk about tables because tables are magical. All right, tables help us out. There's so many things you could do with tables. I'm going to show you that in a moment. But let's talk about real quick this little fun piece. How many of you have ever done autofill before? Like this, right? You type in Monday and you pull down and it goes all the way, right, to you could go to Sunday and it fills it in, the autofill, and people are like, oh, that's magical. That's awesome. Well, the funny part about it is that's actually based off of the custom list. Yeah, isn't that great? So watch this. This is going to be fun. I can go to create a custom list again. And I'm going to just type in Joe is the best. You know, I had to write Joe is the best. That's the example I'm using. So Joe is the best. You don't have to write that, by the way. Write your name. You're all the best. So I'm going to click add and watch how fun this is. Ready? I'm going to put in Joe here. And now when I autofill, how cool is that? Joe is the best. Joe is the best. Joe is the best. So it also creates your autofill for you. Not a lot of people know that, but it creates your autofill when you create a customized list. Now for my Mac users, I did not forget about you. If you want to create custom lists, it's going to be a little different. In your MacBook, what you're going to do is you're going to see when you're inside of Excel, all the way at the top hand corner, you'll see the word Excel. And if you click on that, you'll get a little drop down. Once you get that drop down from the top, you're going to go to preferences. It should be a couple lines down, preferences. And when you click on preferences, it's going to pop up this huge dialog box and it'll have different like lines and different like icons. And I think it's maybe on the third or second line where you'll see custom list. That's where you're going to create your custom lists. Then to use those custom lists, you would just do the same thing we've been doing. Go to sort, choose custom list, and it should now be in there. Okay, so a little bit difference from PC to Mac, but remember, go to Excel, click the drop-down list, it'll go to preferences, and then click custom list. Okay. So we've learned that we can order data in a certain way, and that is exactly what you're doing. You're analyzing the data the way you need it to be analyzed. But sometimes when we're dealing with a lot of data, it can be a little overwhelming. So what I want to talk about next is filtering. And if you're following along with me, go into the filtering worksheet. Now, filtering is really important because it allows us to take massive amounts of data that we're staring at and really get specific on what we want to see out of that data. So instead of looking at the whole picture, we're looking at certain pieces of the picture. And that's important for data analysis because it's not always like we need to see the entire car, right? If we're getting our car fixed and we're looking at the entire car, that's a nice car, right? No, the problem is the engine. We're looking at that specific piece of the car. So same thing here. We're not looking at the entire data set. We're looking at a piece of it. So let's say, for instance, my boss tells me, well, Joe, I just simply want to know how much or how many sales reps do I have in Connecticut? Okay, so I got to think about, okay, I need to see all of them. And don't ever do this. I'm going to, oh, Connecticut sales, that's one. Connecticut sales, that's two. No, that's not how we would do that. We'd be there forever. We can utilize filters. Now, the thing with filters is that you have to turn them on. So if I'm clicked away somewhere and I go to click on like right over here and I click on this filters, which is right next to where we just were by the sorting. It's right there. If I click it on, it's going to say, well, Joe, you can't do that. And if I click somewhere else and I click, it's going to look kind of weird. So you want to do the best practice, which is click on the actual headers themselves. So just click on one of the headers. I don't care which one. I'll use date of hire and then click filters. And it will put that little drop down where we can start to use those filters exactly where you want them to be. So now that I have these filters, I'll notice that if you click on this little drop down, you can start to, wow, look at that, sort. So we can automatically sort our data. We can also choose what we want to see. And my boss said they only want to see the sales department in the Connecticut division. So that's what I'm going to do. Deselect everything but Connecticut. I could have also just deselect all of them by clicking select all and then just chose Connecticut. Anyway is okay. I then click OK. And now I'm only looking at my Connecticut data. But now we have to go to the next column here, department, and choose sales. And click OK. And look at that. We really just took that massive amount of data and we're really specifying what we want to look at. So now I can quickly tell my boss, and I love using this trick, if you've ever seen this trick here. If you just simply hover over or highlight and select certain cells, at the bottom here, it does a quick analysis where it tells you exactly how many cells have stuff in them. So right now I could quickly say, oh, we have six sales reps. And then if my boss asked me something like, well, how much do we pay overall gross pay? If it's a number, it'll tell you not only the average, the count, but it'll tell you the sum. So this is a nice quick analysis tool where I can quickly answer questions. Right? Now that I have this here, how do I know that something's being filtered? That's the biggest question. How do we even know? Well, there's a couple ways of knowing. The first way of knowing is on the filters themselves. They look a little different. They have funnels now. And on these other ones, they're only drop-down lists. Another way of knowing is by looking at the rows over here. Now, I haven't been in math class for a long time, and I don't know that Common Core stuff, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 5, 18, 36, 60, right? So I know stuff is being hidden. So if I look over here, I can tell, okay, something is being hidden. They're probably filtering. But the sure way to know that there's filters on is right up here. You will see clear. So you will see the clear visible. If there was no filters on, it would be grayed out and you couldn't use it. So you would know there's no filters. When you click on clear, it will clear all of the filters and then it's going to be grayed out. So that's how you know if there's filters on or not. Sure way of knowing. Awesome. So what we've done so far is we've taken a look at how we can sort the data. We've taken a look at how we can now specify the data we're looking at, right? Both techniques that can be really important and even more powerful if you use them together. What we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how we can also combine data that we're looking at, because sometimes it's really important, right? So what we're going to do is this. I'm going to click into Flash Fill Worksheet. And Flash Fill is one of my favorite things by far in Excel. It saved me so much time. See, with data analysis, sometimes when we get the data, as I said before, it doesn't come over the way we want it to. And that's important to note, because if it's not coming over the way we want it to, then how can we analyze it, right? We first need to make sure the data is ready for our company so that we can then take a look at it. For instance, in this example, I see here that we have first name and last name. The data pulled the first name and last name and then put it into two separate columns. My boss says to me, well, Joe, that's not how we do things here. We need the data to be the last name with a comma in the first initial. So I need you to fill out all of that and fix it. Yeah, all right, we've all been there. And the first thing that comes to my mind is, can I get a raise? Because that's a lot of work, right? Especially if we have millions of rows of data. But what I realized is that Excel is very smart, right? Excel is very smart. So watch this. We're going to learn a technique called Flash Fill. See, Flash Fill replaces those older functions that you may have known about. You may have heard of concatenation. How many of you have ever used concat, right? Concatenation. And what it does is it combines things. Or if you wanted to split things apart, how many of you have ever used text to columns, right? And then it pulls up that wizard. And I'm not talking about Harry Potter, just that wizard that you got to walk through, right? That was crazy work. It's a lot of work. Instead, I'm going to show you the quickest way we can do this. Ready? This is going to be magical. Okay, what is the last name? Well, the last name is Olson. I'm going to type in Olson. Put a comma. What's the first initial of Kara? C. I'm going to put a C. Press enter. Ready for the magic? In the data tab, now I'm going to make the Harry Potter reference. You're going to go to data tools and you're going to see this little lightning bolt, just like Harry Potter, right? Give it a click. You'll see it says Flash Fill. Watch what happens. Boom. I'm done. No concatenation. All I had to do was just type an example, and now Excel knows to fill out the rest. How cool is that? So I'll do it again. And by the way, there is a keyboard shortcut. There's a keyboard shortcut for it. It's Control E, right? So I'll do it again. Ready? With the keyboard shortcut. Olson, comma, C. Press enter, Control E. Boom. I know it's just going to save you so much time, right? Now that's an example of concatenation. But what happens if we have to pull data away from each other, right? Like for instance, over here, my boss once again says to me, well, Joe, you know, it came over with city and state. You know, we need it in separate columns, city and state. Now, most of you would definitely use text columns because that's something I would use. But once again, I don't like going through the wizard, right? So instead, watch, I click into city. I type in, what's the city? Boulder. Make sure you spell it right. Boulder. Press enter. Control E. I'm done. What's the state? CO. Oregon. Right? And then you could just Control enter and it's done. Okay. So make sure you use this, right? In a way. Now, the only thing that would be, I guess, a requirement is that it needs to just be next to the data. Like for instance, if there was a space between city, state, and city here, if there was an empty column, it wouldn't work. And that's a very, low, less restrictive requirement there. So I'm just going to finish this off. CO, press enter, control E. I'm done. Pretty awesome. There we go. We could even pull, if you wanted, the zip code 80305. Press enter, control E. The only thing is the leading zeros don't appear. That's okay. If you find that the leading zeros did not appear when you did that, just change the format. Select all of these cells. I'm going to use my keyboard shortcut, Control plus Shift plus the arrow keys. So if I click on J3 and I use Control Shift down arrow, it selects everything to the next empty cell. The reason I do that is because I can't stand doing this. How many of you have ever done this? You're highlighting, and then you go past it. You're like, oops, right? I do it all the time. So I don't like doing that. I use Control Shift down arrow. It selects everything. Now you can right click, format the cells. And they actually do have a zip code. It's in special. It says zip code. It's zip code +4, phone number, and social security. So they do have those appearances. I'm just going to choose zip code and click OK. And there's the leading zero. And let's type in zip code here. That's my OCD, if I don't have it up there. All right. And it doesn't matter if it's on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, as long as there's no space. Great question. All right, everyone, let's keep going with this. Now, what we're going to get into next is formatting data as a table. Let me tell you that a lot of people are like, Joe, I don't know why people format tables. Like, why do you take data, turn it into a table? Well, if you're talking about data analysis, tables are the best way to analyze data. There's so many benefits. One benefit is that readability is better. You can read the data better. Second thing is there's tools to analyze the table right there on the table. Also, headers. I'm going to talk about those headers. I know many of you probably use. How many of you have done this? Let's talk about the actual problems right now. How many of you have taken a list of data, you're scrolling through the data, and you've stopped and you go, what is this? What is this? Oh, it's the sales. Duh. Okay. Wait, what is this number? Oh, it's the quantity, right? Yeah, I know. And I know for a fact that most of you use, what is it? Freeze panes, right? I know what you're doing already because I've done it, right? Well, watch this. Not a lot of people know this. You don't need to use freeze panes anymore. Don't. Turn it into a table. Okay, so let me show you the benefits. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it into a table. I'm going to select all of this by clicking Control A. Okay, that means all, select all. So click anywhere in your data and use Control A. And I think for my Mac users, it changes to Command A. But yeah, same thing, A. I'm going to go to Insert. And in my Insert tab, I'm going to select Table. Now, when you click on the table, when you click table, it's going to ask you this. It's going to say, well, Joe, we see that you want to create a table. Does your table have headers? Yes, they do. These are my headers right here, right? My header is going across here telling me what each column represents. I'm going to click OK. So let's talk about the magic now, right? You all said you use freeze panes. Well, watch this. I want you to keep an eye on my A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Keep an eye up here. Okay, watch this. This is my favorite. I'm scrolling through my data. Watch what happens. Ready? Boom. What's this number? Oh, it's sales. It automatically pushes it into the columns. So no longer is it A, B, C, D. It's now the column headers. Not a lot of people know that tables do that. So now I'll never have to ask those questions again. Not only did the table do that, but it also automatically included filters on my table. It also made it more readable, right? Now it's kind of like a lighter shade. It's called banded rows. So now I can read it better. And also there's a couple other things that I can do with this table. For instance, if you didn't like the filters on here, change them, take them off. People don't like the filters, take them off. You just want the look. Go to table design. Make sure you're clicked on your table though. If you click away from your table, it won't say table design. If you click onto your table, you should see the design tab up top. Now in the design tab, you'll see that we have some options here. We could turn off those filters. If you don't want them, just turn them off. Deselect them, turn them on, off. You can click on first column, which will just make the first column bold. You could click on last column, make that one a certain look. We have banded rows on. You could turn those off. You could turn on banded columns if you're reading the data that way. You could turn on both of them, but it looks weird, so don't do it. So we have banded rows. Headers row, you could turn the headers off if you didn't want them. You just want to look at the data. But my favorite and most powerful tool is right here, the total row. If we click on the total row, what it does is it adds a total row at the bottom. Now, yes, right now it's only totaling the quantity, but watch how cool this is, ready? If you click on the quantity, you'll see a little drop down. You don't only need to sum the quantity. Maybe you want to see what is the most minimum quantity I'm selling. You could get min. You could get max. You could get the average. Okay. You could get the sum. In the margin, you could do the same thing here. Average or the sum. Okay. You don't always have to just do one. You can do them all. Now, here's a little trick though. This is really important. Okay. If you're analyzing data, especially if you're analyzing if there's missing data, what you can do is, let's pretend I have missing data. I'll just minus out this blend. You can do a count just like this, 305, 305, 304, 305. Okay, we now know there's missing data somewhere, and it's obviously in this column. So you can analyze data with the total rows, right? So this is primarily data analysis right here, right? We're figuring out stuff, and then I'll just type in blend, and it fixes it. Okay, so that totals row is really important. It's not just to total something. You can find out all the information about any of the columns with this. Okay, so we just formatted this as a table. It's been amazing. We now have totals. We have headers that pop up so we can always know what we're looking at. So there's a lot of stuff that we're looking at now. Okay. All right, let's keep going with this because I'm having a lot of fun here. All right, and I hope you're all having fun too and learning some great stuff. So the next thing we're going to get into it is extracting data from data. I like to call it mining data, right? So mining data, and I saw somebody just posted in the chat, what is count distinct? Well, yeah, so what ends up happening is count will just count everything, right? So for instance, let me draw it out. It's a lot easier. If I have a list of data like Joe, and it's just all my sales data, and then I'll make up something, I'll include Carly in there, right? My friend Matt. Well, when we're looking at this, if I did just a normal count, the count would be 4, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, because it's 4 entries of data. But if I wanted to do a distinct count, it would count all the unique times there was something put in there. So since there's 2 Joes, it would be just turned into 1, right? So it'd be Joe was mentioned once, Carly and Matt, it would be 3. So that's the difference between count distinct, where it's counting the unique values, and then just the count overall, which would be 4, right? So great question. Yeah, that can be really helpful sometimes what you're looking at. And yes, you can. Yeah, you can do custom functions in the totals row on those tables. Something that we could probably have a full class on. So I won't get into it today, but I'll show you. Yeah, if you click the drop down, you could go into more functions and look up whatever function you want. Great question. That's why I know, and a lot of people will say, Joe, the totals row, I've done it 1,000 times, but they don't know just how really powerful it can be. So what we're going to learn about next is data mining, like mining data from data, right? And this is a great technique that you should have. Because even though data analysis is really an important factor, sometimes we already have the data in front of us. We just have to pull more of it out, right? We have the truth in front of us. We just have to get it out of it. So for instance, I'm looking at this data. My boss just wants to know something. My boss says, Joe, is there a way that we can know who's part-time and who's full-time just by looking at this data? I said, yeah, of course. Why not? If you want to, I can. What I'm thinking in my head is, why don't we do full-time versus part-time? And do you want me to make you a column that says FT or PT? And my boss is like, yeah, if you could do that, I can. So what we'll do is we're going to use the if function. It's a wonderful technique that I use a lot of the time. And what it does is it asks a question. It's asking a question about the data. It's saying, okay, Joe, what is the question you want to ask? And if you ask that question and it's true, do something. But if it's false, do something different. So if I'm to build this out in my mind, the question that I'm asking here is, are they full-time or not? And I can get that. Are they full-time or not? If that's true, if they're full-time, right? If it's true, well, then what I will do is I'll write FT, full-time. If it's not true, if they're not full-time, if it comes out to be false, well, then I'll write PT, right? It'll do something different depending on if it comes out true or comes out false. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to write an if function. So let us do this. In my L4, let's zoom in on this a little bit. I'm going to use my control key and my mouse wheel to just zoom in. I'm going to do FT/PT. Okay, that's what I want this column to be. It's going to say full-time or part-time. Now, the question we have to ask is this, right? We're going to do equals if. Now, when you have equals if you look on the keyboard, you'll see next to the Q, there's the tab key. Press that tab key, and it opens up the parentheses for you. Now, if you get nervous about writing functions, that's okay. I was nervous when I first started writing functions. And what always helped me out is not remembering, okay, I got to put this comma here, got to do this comma. It gets confusing. So instead, after you write equals if and you open up the parentheses, I want you to go over to the FX right here on the formula bar and give it a click. And when you do that, what it opens up is Joe's help box. Yeah, Joe's help box, not this. I don't know what functions argument. It is forever known. I'm trying to work out a deal with Microsoft to put Joe's help box. I don't think it's going to work. But either way, so it's Joe's help box. And what it's doing is it's alleviating those commas, right? Because we know how intimidating commas can get. Instead, we just have to now fill out each of these boxes and it does the columns for us. So the first thing it asks us for is, okay, Joe, what is the logical test? Don't get nervous about that terminology. It's just simply saying, what question are we asking? And we're asking this question, right? If anyone works more than 35 hours, well, then they're full-time. If they work less than 35 hours, they're part-time. So the first question we're going to ask is right here. See this hours? It says 35.5. We just want to know this, right? I5. Is this 35.5 hours greater than or equal to 35 hours, right? It's true because, well, it says 35.5. Well, that's greater than 35 by 0.5, right? So we're just simply asking, is this number greater than or equal to 35? Okay, we've just done that hard part. There it is. Is I5 greater than or equal to 35? We've done the hard part. Now here's the easy part. If it's true, what do we want to say? Well, if it's true, remember, we want to put FT in there. Now, Excel does not understand English. Trust me, I've tried. I've tried to program it to understand English. It's hard to. You have to put it in what's known as a string of text, quotation marks. So you got to do open quote, FT, close quote. Okay, so if it's true, it's going to just put an FT in there. Now, if it's false, we're going to say PT. All right, so this is what it's looking like. We asked our question. is I5, whatever's in I5, greater than or equal to 35? It's telling us it's true because we know what's in there, 35.5. So we know it's greater than. Now it's saying, well, if it's true, we're going to put an FT. And if it's false, we're going to put a PT. Joe, this is what it's going to be as a result. I'm like, that makes sense. It's going to be FT because, well, 35.5 is greater than 35. So I click OK. Yay. All right. That looks great. The problem is now we have to do that for all of them. We have to rewrite that formula. I'm just kidding. No, we don't. Right? We have autofill. All we have to do is come over here, hover over that little square there. You'll see that little square. You'll see my white crosshaired cursor turns to a black crosshaired cursor. And once it does that, I do a double click and it fills it out perfectly. Look, PT because it's 32, FT 40. So there we go. We now have extracted more data out of this data set. Michael, how is the functions argument box open again? Yeah, of course. You're going to write your first thing here. You're going to do equals if, tab on your keyboard to open the parentheses. And then you're going to go to the FX on the formula bar right over here. And when you do that, that's how it opens it up there. And you'll use that first, like start using that function arguments box. And then you're going to start to know the function so well, you'll start just typing it out. But when I first started off in Excel, I always used the function arguments box because it's helpful. It's easier. And it always tells you exactly what each one does. Gives you a little description. Of course, no worries. Now, not only can we just grab that information, my boss also wants to know, weirdly enough, right? What day of the week did we get the most hires? What day of the week did we get the most hires? Ooh, that's a tricky one. This is the prime example of crazy data analysis. All right. My boss wants to know, did we get more hires on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, right? We don't have that data here. Or do we? Well, I'm thinking about it. Okay, so my boss wants to know how many people did we hire per day? Because he just wants to see just a statistic. I don't know why he wants to see it, but our bosses, they want to ask and solve problems. So they're trying to see something. Maybe they're trying to see if we have less people on Sundays and Saturdays getting hired, right? So maybe we won't do interviews on Saturdays and Sundays. See how we're figuring out if there's even a problem at all? That's all data analysis. This is how you can actually solve these problems. So the first thing I have to think about is, okay, what am I pulling? Well, I do want to pull the date of hire, but I want to pull the week from the date of hire. So how do I do that? Well, there is a function, right? There's a function, you might know it, it's equals weekday. And if I click on it, I can see what the weekday is. It'll give me a 2, okay? Because that's going to be maybe a Sunday or month, but no, I don't want that. That 2 does nothing for me. So sometimes what we need to do is we need to get a little more creative. See, there's this really amazing function, and it's called the text function. I use it probably at least 3 times a day. And what it does is this: the text function looks at a number and it turns it into a text. And depending on our regular formatting, which we know, right? Especially, and I'm just going to go, I know everyone's from different locations right now. I'm just going with the one I know. Your system should already be booted to your format, but the date goes like this, for me at least: month, day, year. Okay. And Excel is actually programmed with the same letters. So for instance, month uses M's, days use D's, and Y's for the years. Okay, so it's the same concept. Now, if I use the text format, right, I just want to see day of week. I'm going to go equals. I'm going to use my text, tab to open the parentheses. And it's going to ask me, it's going to say the first thing. If you want to pull the FX box, you can. But for this one, I'm just going to type it out. The first thing it asks me for is the value. And by the way, a little tip here, you can move this. If this ever gets in your way, you can move this little guide anywhere you want. It gets in the way sometimes. So that's why I say that, just move it wherever you want. So it's asking me first for the value, and the value is going to be, well, I'm looking at the date of hire. So I'm going to click here, G5. Now I have to go to the format text. So I have to put my next argument. So you have to put a comma, and you'll see how that happens. See how value was bold, and now I put the comma, and format text is bold, because now we're doing the next argument. So now we're just simply saying, I want you to look at date of hire, and I want you to give me the day. So we just talked about it, right? The day is a D. So I'm going to put the D. Remember, you have to put it in quotes because you know how Excel is. All right. So I put the D there with the quotes. And when I press enter, look at that. It gives me 16. But you know what? I don't want the number. I want the actual day. So let me just show you real quick. You can have whatever you want. If you put a D, it's going to be a number like 16. If you put a DD, it's going to be the number 16. If you put a DDD, it's going to be whatever it is. I'm just guessing here. It's going to be a Tuesday, TUE. And if you put DDDD, it's going to be the entire actual word. Okay, so let's try this out. 16. I'm going to put a second D in there. 16. I'm going to put a third D in here, right? Monday, abbreviated. I want the full one, so I'm going to put 4 Ds in there. And there we go. How awesome is that? Now, somebody asked, does this work with months as well instead of using the month function? Yes, it does. The month function, once again, very helpful function. It gives you why though, right? It gives you like a numeric value instead. But instead of doing that, so instead of doing equals month, right, and just grabbing the number, do the text. So I would do equals text, put a comma, and just put 1, 2, 3 M's, right? Make sure they're in quotes. And there you go, you got April. Or if you wanted full, then you would do more than 4 M's. So yeah, if you want the actual text instead of a numeric value, which numeric values can be very helpful, but if you want the actual text, you're more than welcome to do that. And this is us extracting the data. You see that? How amazing is that? We're extracting that data. All right. So that's a great question. So if you only wanted to see, first off, Philip's asking about the length of the employees, you could do a filter for that. But yeah, it is possible. If you want, what I'll do is I can make a tutorial video on that and post it into Offsite for everyone. If you're looking for like, okay, I just want to see 4 characters and this employee number, we could do that with filtering and have a lot of fun with that. Let me know, just comment, and then I'll put it into Offsite, some tutorial on it. All right, no worries. So with that said, though, I think we're there on time. All right, so I just want to say thanks so much, everyone. I really hope you got a lot out of this class. We're gonna have some, Q&A right now. The thing is that when you're analyzing this data, right, you always have to think about those couple of things. Is there a problem? What sorts of questions should I already be asking, right? And then once you have that data, how should I present it? Do they want me to sort it a certain way? Do they want me to only filter it a certain way? Do they want me to do some data mining and pull more information out of this data? Maybe they're using the data to look at it and analyze it. Do I want to turn it into a table? That would help. Pivot tables, right? That's a huge data analysis tool. So there's so many different tools that you can use. I think the first question is what exactly is the problem, if there is any? And what are we trying to ask? What are we trying to solve? What's the solution? What are we trying to analyze? So with all of these techniques, I think you have enough here to really start diving into your data. I hope this helps. Thank you all so much. And yeah, I'll turn it over to Carly for our closing and if there's any other questions.
Thank you so much, Joe, for this wonderful session this morning. Everyone, if you enjoyed the session, give Joe a little bit of love with a reaction, maybe a heart, a thumbs up. We'd love your feedback. I see it coming through the chat as well. So thanks, Taryn. Thank you, Suda. Thanks, everyone, for your gratitude. It means a ton to us. And just, I know I see some people asking about how to access the recording to this session. It will be available immediately in our online community called Offsite. So you can go to offsitebylearnit.com. I'll be posting on it there, and I'll also email all of you a link just to join as well. And also, just to give you a sense, we do have some workshops where you can dive a little bit deeper into both leadership and more into data analysis and more technical skills around using Excel. So we have a critical thinking class on November 9th and 10th, an Excel advanced class on October 15th, and then data analysis bootcamp is around a 3 or 4 day workshop. If you're interested in that course, reach out to me and we can discuss options with you. But of course, if you're a current client already, feel free to reach out to me. If you do join Offsite, you do get 15% off of our longer form workshops as well, which again range anywhere between 2 to 6 hours, and we do a lot more hands-on working through things. So this session was just a bite size of that. But we do have again that our community offsite for you to join. Again, there's a code there you can scan to join, but in there we have, again, weekly programming. We have live instructor help every Wednesday morning. So if you have a takeaway question that comes up tomorrow or on Monday, and you're like, man, I could actually really use some live help with this and workshop through it, join us for 30 minutes on Wednesday mornings. We'd love to workshop through your questions with you as well. And as always, you can also refer to Offsite for our calendar of community events. Our theme for the month of October is Women in Leadership. So we would love to see you there. We have a lot of amazing guest speakers, and we'll be doing a lot more sessions on professional development skills. So with that, we really do wish you a wonderful, positive, healthy weekend. Happy learning. We're here as a resource, and please do reach out to Joe and myself in Offsite and via email if you have any questions. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye, Vicky. Thanks for being here.